Sure, named Antonio Neves, I'm the founder of THINQACTION. Yes, we can clap. Long story short, THINQACTION, what I do is I'm an advocate for young professionals. And I've been a business journalist for quite a few years, NBC, and writing for a variety of magazines. And reading press, you can let it believe that every young professional, every 20-something, is starting their own company or working in technology. You and I all know that that's not the truth. More young people work for companies versus start them. And I want to support them in that, let them know that that's okay. They can be change agents of tomorrow. And most of my clients, when they get to the corner office like yesterday, and I help them do that. And I began my career as an assistant here in New York City with Nickelodeon about 10 years ago. So I worked with MTV Networks. I don't know how old you guys are. If you ever watched Nickelodeon's You Pick Live, the live show, but there used to be a black dude with long dreadlocks. Yeah. So I worked with a whole bunch of networks and stuff in New York City, and I'm glad to be here and enjoying all of you.
My name is Manuel Toscano. I run a design consultancy called Sall, and on my other spare time I work with the AIGA on a program that's called Design for Good, where we try to work with our members on social responsible and social change projects. And I did start in New York interning for a photographer that was taking some pictures of some vitamins. Vitamins. He actually got paid $50,000 for taking the picture of vitamins. And I thought, wow, I have the wrong job.
I'm Sall. I'm VP and Planning Director at BBDO New York, which is an ad agency. And most of my life I've worked in advertising. So I started at the Discovery Channel as an assistant in Bethesda, Maryland, because I grew up in Maryland. And I guess I moved to New York 3 years ago from Portland, Oregon, which was a very quiet town. So I'm glad to be here. And I'm currently working on the global account in GE as well.
So most of us have been working for a number of years, and we're hoping to be able to share some of our experience in our careers and give you some practical advice. So the first question, I think, is what are some of the lessons you've learned in your career?
You know, the question I like to ask everyone in this room, and think about this for a second, is the question, who makes you better? I wish I would have learned this earlier in my career. Who makes you better? Who's that person, those people, individuals that empower you, that support you, that hold you accountable, that give you energy? Find out who those people are and bring them as close to you as possible. I call them, the allies of glory. And it's just as important to identify those thieves of ambition, those people that don't support you, that don't hold you accountable, that don't make you better. Try to push them away. I think I spent a lot of time early in my years in New York and throughout my career doing things that just were a waste of time. I think we're all really bright. We know what we're kind of doing in our careers in some capacity, but what you surround yourself with can make all the difference right now. So ask yourself who makes you better and cherish those relationships and bring them really close.
I have a friend who actually got bitten by a dog when he was very small, almost tore his face off, and was afraid of dogs all his life. And one day he's in the woods, and all of a sudden the dog starts running after him, and he's running for his life, totally afraid, and he's running, and then all of a sudden something comes into him, and he decides, I'm going to kill this dog. He turns around and just goes to, attack the dog and kill him. And the dog immediately notices that things have changed. Okay, and the dog runs away. I suppose that's kind of my professional lesson is if you have fear, the working world, the professional world will see it. And running away is not going to make any difference. And being able to kind of get that courage and face it, I think it's much better. So that would be my.
And I'll take both of those as well. Because for me, surrounding yourself with people that support you and actually challenge you, I would go even further to say that just actually force people to care about you and mentor you. lot of people don't have time, especially, you know, in business today. So I mean, very young, I was, just be bold about it. I mean, I think maybe it's also like ignorance is bliss, because you don't really know how big these people are in the real world. It's okay to go up to them and just talk to them and say, I need your help, I need you to guide me. And they're actually so surprised that they don't usually say no. So it's a good thing. And then I think facing your fear, especially me, I'm very restless. I've lived in Maryland, I moved to San Francisco, moved to Portland, moved to New York, and for now, but I don't know where I'm going to be next. I think just be open-minded, like try things. You're young, there's nothing tying you down. Be open to opportunity wherever it comes from. And when people don't agree with you, it's a good thing, because if you have an open mind, I think it allows you to incorporate different cultures and different ways of seeing things, and I think that opens up your world.
I kind of want to go back to the idea of finding a mentor. How important has that been in your career? And how do you, I mean, just to go back, how do you go about approaching someone to be your mentor? Because it's a lot of it's a bit of a time investment for the person to do that. And how do you sort of convince them to want to do that?
Well, when I first started in San Francisco at BBDO Silver Partners, I was a planning assistant, so I was an executive assistant to two of the partners. And I knew I wanted to go into strategy, but, you know, I looked young, I was wearing jeans all the time, having fun. You know, they think, oh, she's happy where she is. And so finally when I approached them, they're like, well, we don't want to lose you as an assistant. And I was like, I made a deal with you. 1 year, I'll be your assistant, I get to know the lay of the land, and then when I come to you with what I want to do, you support it. This is the time. So tell me now if you're going to support me or not. If you're not, I'm going to go somewhere else. And I think also in that year, I pulled in all of the planning directors that I actually admired. I went to each and every one of them, and I was like, give me projects so that I can prove myself to the partners. And I did the projects after work. You know, I would stay till 2 a.m., weekends. So you have to actually invest in yourself, and if people see that, they want to help you. Like now when I look at young people in advertising, I pull the ones that are actually just very energetic, very enthusiastic and eager, and are investing in themselves. And that's what draws me to them, and I pull them into the fold. So even if they're not in planning, or you know, if they're creative or in account management, I'll kind of take them under my wing and show them the way. And I think mentors are extremely important, because they see a landscape that you don't see. They're not able to see it yet as a junior person. And I mean, I still talk to all of the partners at BBDO, and it's been 11 years, and they still guide me in my career. So that's how important it is to me.
I'll say even going beyond mentorship, which has been integral throughout my life, from a sixth grader to a high school student to a college student, is the idea of the informational meeting. If there's one thing that led to me in my exposure, expanding my network, and increasing my influence within that network, was informational meetings. To your point earlier, one thing I've learned is that people love to talk about themselves. You ever get somebody to start talking at house? Why are they still talking? People love to talk about themselves. Earlier in my career, I was so hungry. I'm a small town dude in Michigan, the kind of town where people don't leave. I moved here with $600 in my pocket. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna make this happen. It's like that. This dog is not gonna rip my face off. So what I did, I was so aggressive about asking people for 5-10 minutes of their time. I called it coffee and cocktail. I was like, hey, let me buy you a cup of coffee, let me buy you a cocktail for 5-10 minutes of your time, solely so I can learn from you and your experience about this industry, about this job, how you made your way. And I was probably blog post on coffee and cocktails, but that made a big difference because I learned so much. And I'll say that earlier in my career, a lot of my jobs, I was fortunate that I didn't have to send my resume into some online vortex where some algorithm scanned for certain words to hopefully reach your resources. My network reached out to me, and I reached out to them, and it worked for me. So start identifying those people who you can learn from. Don't be biased. I've done information interviews with custodians, with assistants, with senior vice presidents. I'm going to do one of these two. They don't know it yet. Seriously, I still do it. 2 quick things about the informational meeting. 1, never ask for a job. During an information meeting, you are there to go get information. They should do 80% of the talking. 2nd, always end your informational meeting with, is there anyone else you think I should speak with? All of a sudden, you are safe, you are vetted, you are filtered, you can, in your subject line, put referred by whoever, and you're in. So, informational meetings are powerful.
Because I think what's important about the informational meeting, and we just tapped into that, is be authentic, be genuinely interested in what the person has to say. Because if you were there and you're, I mean, I know everyone is about to graduate or about to enter the workforce, and the thing that you're thinking about is you need a job, right? So sometimes you want to approach the informational meeting as a way to get a job. But I think it puts a pressure on that person that you're talking to, and it sort of skews that conversation in a way that kind of takes away the whole purpose of it, which is to really understand that this is what you're doing as well.
20-minute rule, I think it's good.
20.
So, yeah. So for the first 20 minutes, ask the person all the questions you think will lead you to the conversation that you are there for, right? So it's kind of like leading a witness. After 20 minutes, they think, oh, I'm being framed, right? So, even if they like speaking about themselves, and, my industry, people love speaking about themselves. And they say, well, cupcakes, we love cupcakes, but, we don't get to do enough of them, or, research the cupcakes in Japan, and you say, oh, I love Japan. So that's kind of a way of leading people into a place where they can just start considering you as a possibility for a different future within their context, right? You have to understand that interns and new hires are really about opportunity and possibility. You are working with people all the time, and they're your team, and you kind of know what they're good at and how they behave and what they're going to say when you say, oh, cupcakes in Japan. I'm like, oh, we did that last year. So when you are interviewing, you're really an opportunity, right? But you shouldn't think you're an opportunity for yourself. Like, I get hundreds of emails where first, 14 paragraphs. It's like, I'm very nice, I love to do this, and I love to do that, and I will be great for you, and that's nice, but do you even know what I do? It's a little hard. Usually when the paragraph is 4 lines, it says, I saw you guys do this kind of work, it's work that I'm interested in, I would like to know more about it, can I come in for just a conversation? Okay. That's a much different, it's a very different kind of interest.
He's talking about something that I would say 80% of people don't do prior to the informational meeting and sometimes job interview is research, being prepared, be prepared. If I'm meeting with him or her, best believe I know everything about him. I spent at least an hour on the internet going to LinkedIn, finding old projects. I will know that he shot those vitamins a long time ago. And I think the second thing on that level of informational meeting is I forgot that point. Sorry.
But yeah, I think to any meeting, especially you graduate and you're going to start meeting a lot of people even at bars or whatever, it's always like bring value to the meeting instead of taking from people, bring some sort of value. Like when I was a junior planner starting, and as a planner you have to brief creative teams on what the project is going to be. And these are really tough guys, they're creative, they're super eccentric, and if you don't go in doing your shit, you're in big trouble. So I think you also can't go in just to go in and give them some sort of piece of information. It has to be information that they can use. So this was if I don't bring value to any meeting, I won't show up. Because there's no point of you just sitting there taking up space.
It seems like from talking to all of you guys that all of your careers sort of took different twists and turns. And so in terms of a person setting out, did you all know what you wanted to do, or did it just, is there a guiding principle of the way your career developed over time?
I followed my heart. And I know it sounds very California, but that's exactly what I did. Growing up, I wanted to be a pediatrician/rock star. Went to school, did 2 years of pre-med, figured out I didn't want to go to med school, and then I was floating. I did marketing just because my sisters had done it and it seemed easy enough. And when I got out, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I temped for a year. And I went and worked at IBM, Microsoft, and you had to wear a suit every day. And I realized this is actually what I don't want to do. So So it taught me that lesson earlier. And then I went into Discovery Channel, and it was just super creative, and I was like, there were just no boundaries, like, and ideas could come from anyone, literally, whether you were an assistant, there's no hierarchy. And I felt like I thrived in that environment, and so I would seek that out. And so when I moved to San Francisco, as soon as I walked into BBDO, I actually knew I was going to work there because it had the same energy, and you know, people care about you. It was like family. When I went to Chiat, I followed my mentor there. And then when I went to Portland, again, same energy. I didn't like the city, but when I walked into the agency, I knew immediately that I would work there. That I could.
Nice office.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But I mean, I had a lot of twists and turns. And I think, again, if you're having fun, if you're being challenged, if you're learning something, then it's not a mistake in your career. You just don't know where it's going to take you, but learn what you can, whatever you want, and move it forward.
That's a tough one. I graduated from SU with MFA in photography, and then I needed a visa. So forget it. I wasn't going to be a fine art photographer without a visa. So I had some friends who had a graphic design firm. I joined them, and I'm still working there. So I'm actually still an intern, just with some really unpleasant responsibility. I think that you know, following your heart is it's a good, you know, it's a good advice. Sometimes the problem is that the heart doesn't want to communicate with the brain, or the brain with the heart. So that makes it a little confusing. I do think that I would give I would add two things to the heart, right? So when you can't feel your heart, just make sure that you are on your feet. And so that you're not doing something that is really against your physical tolerances, right? So, like I was a photographer, so I think I tried to do every kind of assisting you can do in New York. Weddings, food, fashion, you know, still life. And I was going from one to the other, and first assistant, I got actually to work with some very interesting people. And then I realized I just hate carrying shit around.
Get an intern.
It's just horrible. Like, I have to count how many things I have in the car. And then I decided, you know, I'm going to find a job where I don't have to carry things. I think that's kind of good advice. Don't do something that's physically really difficult for you, like wearing a suit or sitting meetings day after day, you know, like, because people will see it in your face and be like, so if you can't follow your heart, you know, just try to do things that physically don't F you up.
That was so much fun. Were you guys having a good time so far?
Yeah.
How many of you guys know what you want to do? Like, you know what you knew from the beginning, the day you were born, you knew what you wanted to do. How many of you guys are a little lost foggy right now trying to figure out what you want to do? I guess I know. When I moved to New York City, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had some semblance that I wanted to do something in entertainment, but I had no idea. So I think more to the point you two made, you see us in these chairs right now. You see our backgrounds and our titles and where we are and something. Maybe it sounds cool to you or not. What you don't hear about are all the jobs that we've had that we hated. So you don't know that I used to work in H&M in retail. You don't know that I was a temp. You don't know that I was a bartender. You don't know that I was a sales representative for Kraft Foods. You don't know that I was a photographer assistant, a horrible one at that. So a lot of times we think of our careers as linear trajectory, right? For me, that wasn't the case. So if you think there's some standard career ladder, maybe there's not. I invite you to look at your career kind of like a pyramid, okay? So look at that, there's a wide base in the pyramid. For me, that wide base is me doing all that shit that I don't like. When I was experimenting, it was exploratory research. It was exploratory research, and slowly as I moved on in my career, get closer to that peak. I'm probably nowhere near my peak right now, maybe we all may change careers later, but know that you may be in the base of your career, and the key is just get your hands dirty, exploring, taking classes, you learn about a new field, doing those informational interviews to learn learn. It is your responsibility. No one cares more about your career goals than you do, seriously. So it's your responsibility to be as active as possible in experimenting and saying, yep, I don't want to do that, what's next?
But you also learn a lot about
Oh my goodness, skill that most folks don't have. Yeah. I guarantee you this dude can make you a great drink.
Okay, so let's say that you are in a place that you like to be and you're in a great job. So what are some of the tricks of standing out and advancing forward?
I mean, I think really, again, it's just loving your job. Because if you love it, you actually do things that people aren't going to ask you to do. You know what I mean? Like you take the initiative. I mean, I do strategy in the shower. Like, you know, it's so a part of you, I think. And it takes you a while to get there. And don't discount all the other stuff that you're doing to get there. But once you're there, I think you either enjoy it or you don't. And that's why, you know, people always have that blanket statement of love what you do. It really is important because if you don't love it, not only can people tell, but you will not take initiative and you won't stand out.
And 3 things you can do right now, and I share this with my clients every single day. 3 things you can start doing on Monday in your job that you enjoy and you want to progress in that company. 1, do the job that no one else wants to do. When they ask for that volunteer to show up at that event early, set chairs up, they ask for someone to stay late and enter the information in that database, do it. Become indispensable. Become that go-to person. It's not sexy, but let me tell you, you'll become a linchpin like Seth Godin writes about. 2nd, do the job that you want to do, even if you're not paid to do it. When I started Nickelodeon, I was an assistant, but I wanted to write. So what did I do after all my responsibilities were done? I wrote every single day. I took classes. When I was running the blog, I wanted to be a staff writer, so I wrote every day, and I showed my scripts to the head writer to get feedback, and I learned and I grew. And then that one day came, and I remember it like yesterday, one of the head writers was out, one of the writers was out sick. And he came to me and said, Antonio, do you have any scripts ready to go while Kevin's out? And I said, do I have scripts ready to go? It only takes someone being out sick one day for your opportunity to present itself. Luck is when opportunity needs preparation. I tell people, don't get sick around me. I will take your job. Lastly, if you have an idea, execute it. Nothing is worse than going into the boss's office and saying, hey, I have this idea, I'm thinking about doing X, Y, and Z, and get shot down. The reason why it gets shot down is because it's easy to kill something that doesn't exist. I would always go with an idea for a new series or a new segment or a new project, and I would go, hey, I have an idea for X, Y, and Z. Matter of fact, I've been working on it, and here's what the information is, here's how the outline will work, here's information. Before you know it, they're like, oh, we've already done the work. Okay, try it out, see what happens. But if you went in with just that idea, they'll give you the stiff arm, like, no. So go in with something that's executed as much as it can be in advance.
And just, you know, maybe I'm the European here, so I'm a little skeptical sometimes when, you guys are just way too optimistic sometimes. It's obvious that you two are very optimistic and successful because of it. But, there's all kinds of studies about that, right? So, if you're optimistic and if you are outgoing, you approach opportunity in such a way that statistically you're going to have a better chance of having a positive outcome than somebody who says, I don't know about today. For sure. But just one little thing about loving your job, right? So you are in advertising, and it's not, it's a great job, but it's not a great day every day, right? So things happen all the time. You have problems. You have all kinds of challenges. And when we say, and I think this is something maybe we should talk about it when for people who are coming out of school and maybe haven't had as many years working in one place as we have, is you get to that point where you even love the problems and the difficulties that you encounter, right? So it's not that things are easy, and it's not that things don't turn out badly, and it's not that at the end of the day you're like, oh, we should have done that, or we could have done much better, right? It's that even the process of doing things wrong is something that you feel will make your job better in the long run, and you love your job so much that you're going to go through the of dealing with and then getting out of right? So you're like, okay, I know why I'm dealing with this client, I know why I'm dealing with this team that is being irrational, and they're like, went to this tangent and now I'm doing something completely wrong, but I'm going to deal with it, because in the end of the day, I want to know how to keep teams from doing that, or I want to help them when they, go to the prison farm. So that's what it means to love it. It's not that you come back home and you're like, I have such a great job. That's not it.
And if it sounded that way, it's
No, I just
like a
just
bad day
makes
in
sense.
advertising eats at your soul. That's, like literally, it's really good. When it's a good day, it's amazing, and you're on top of the world. When it's a bad day, you want to crawl under the covers and forget that week ever existed.
With whiskey.
Yes. That's why people drink a lot in advertising.
Okay, so last question for our panelists. Can you name one practical, concrete step that our listeners can take away after this discussion?
Commitment. Finish something. If I did something early in my career that I look back at and I get a little frustrated, is that my life was like an iPad app. And I had like 5 million apps running and nothing was getting done. So I ask you guys, just ship whatever your product is. If you want to start that blog, start it and do it. You can't do everything, but do something. So commitment to finish something. I had like all these different things going at the same time. Help her with her project. I'm doing this movie script. I'm doing nothing got done. Finish something, move on to the next thing.
I second that.
Yeah.
But I would add that, I have a lot of this information on right? A lot of things like, I don't know, 1 or 2, they're usually no more than 30 minutes, right? Some end up 45. I drink a lot of coffee. And when I have a good conversation with a person, I always say, I know you're looking for a job, you have a tiny studio, so we are not offering any jobs, but let me know where you go, what's happening, keep in touch. Maybe it's about coffee, maybe it's me, but you know how rarely people like send me an email saying, I'm here, or link to me on LinkedIn, or, like, even just me accepting you on LinkedIn. I have 1,400 people on LinkedIn, of which some are clients of mine, and you're going to see some interesting people, and you're going to have contacts that would, They say, why don't people take advantage of that? That's the part that I think sometimes is strange. You get out of the interview, you're thinking, oh, I didn't get the job, you kind of move to the next thing, and one of the things that I think really impressed me once, I took pictures of Clinton, and the former President Clinton, and 400 pictures of him saying hello. They get me $1,000. Click, $1,000. Click. And he, at the end of taking picture, and in the middle of one of the pictures, he said, no. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, we have to take it again. I'm like, why? I blinked. So I blink, you got it. Okay, I take it again. And then I go back to look at the picture, and he did blink. And he was the only one that he blinked. And I'm like, wow, this guy has it together. And then I got fascinated about him, blah, blah, blah. And in between all the stories that I heard about Clinton is that he has written down a little note on the back of every business card he's ever received since he went to, I think he was a Fulbright or something like that. So I'm thinking, my God, that guy has a lot of business cards, right? But also that you never know who you're going to meet again, right? Right now I'm looking for someone to help me in the office, and an intern that came into the office maybe 2-3 years ago, contacted me through LinkedIn, and we're negotiating for me to work in the studio. So that's one of the things. It's like you never know why they're going to be useful to know or to recontact in the future. And I think that's really an important part, of even this process. As you go look for work, when you meet somebody, it has a lot of value just meeting them. Even if you don't get a job, it's like they had an interview with you, they talked to you. If you had a connection, that's good. Ask them if you can keep in touch, and do keep in touch from time to time, because I think that builds. They will, in 2 years, they will forget you went there for an interview. They'll be like, oh, she's at BBDO. Oh, we should do something with BBDO. They won't even remember that, that maybe you were asking for help, or that, you were unsure in the interview. They'll just remember you and see where and who you are now, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. I know you can't talk. No, so I agree, follow through. And I think when I was younger, I was very shy with older people, and I think I didn't follow through. So I would have interviews, and I would, go out and meet people that other people had set me up with, and then I wouldn't follow through. I would send a thank you note, but that was it. Even if they said, email me, let me know your progress, I thought, oh, they're too busy. They don't really mean it. But they actually do mean it, and if they don't mean it, they shouldn't say it. So I think you should follow through. And I think you should email them, don't call them, until they tell you you're being a pest. Don't call me. But if they say, I want to know your progress, it's because they actually genuinely want to know about it. So even if you're shy, just try and be bold and face that fear and do it. And I think investing in yourself. You have to invest in yourself because no one else will do it. I mean, that is the bottom line, I think, for me. I wanted to be a planner. I took anthropology classes. I took psychology classes in addition, just to learn that field. And that's what propelled me into that field because I wanted it. And no one could tell me no. No matter how hard it was, I kept going back. And I think, just have fun.
Great, thank you guys. So we're going to open up to questions, if anyone has any. Yes.
I actually have a question geared towards people from Boston and San Francisco. I'm a native New Yorker, and I'm contemplating moving to Los Angeles. And I know barely anyone over there, and I'm just wondering, what types, if a guttural thing for me, I think, I want to do it. It's fearful, but it's something that feels right for me. So, what would you say in terms of advice for somebody who's doesn't know anybody, but just wants to go and transition?
I say do it. And I say do it because New York is a huge place, LA is a huge place. You have some people around you that you know, and someone will get you in touch with someone else there, and it'll just start that journey. Because having someone in LA is actually really important because it's so spread out. There's so many neighborhoods, you can't just walk everywhere. So I think having some sort of connection, I know people in LA, so if you need me to hook you up with people, I can do that. And they're good people. They're not allowed to be people. So yeah, I say just do it. You have nothing to lose right now. Explore. If you don't like it, you can always come back.
And then, just to add to that, it's always good to not be from somewhere. I mean, I've been traveling all my life, and I've been in New York way too long, but I think there is an advantage, especially when you are starting out, because if you come to me and you say, I'm here, I'm doing informational interviews, I'm from New York, where do you live? On 64th and First Avenue, and somebody else comes in and they're like, I'm from Wichita, and I'm here, and my parents are in a farm, I'll be like, oh, this poor girl from Wichita. Immediately. If you walk into an interview in LA and you're like, I'm from New York, I don't drive, they'll give you a job. This poor girl. Can you believe she came here, she can't drive? So you think about that, sometimes.
I moved to New York January 2000, and I knew one person. Pre-LinkedIn, pre-Twitter, pre-Facebook. I made it happen. You can make it happen. You have networks you're probably not even thinking about right now. You have Facebook, you have LinkedIn, you have an alumni. Your alumni network, whatever university you attended, one of the most powerful networks that's highly underutilized. You have meetup.com. You have conferences you can attend, classes you can take. So you're going to be busy meeting people. It's seriously, it's gonna exponentially grow your network.
I'm
And the
just-
weather, of course.
I
That's where I live. It's over me. You know me in Los Angeles.
I'm just like her, I'm here from Texas for the weekend, because I want to live here so bad. And since I graduated in December, I've been LinkedIn and meeting and Facebooking with everybody I can possibly think of. And I guess, well, this question's for all of you, but mostly for Adama, because I'm looking to break into advertising. I'm even reading the book, How to Break into Advertising. I mean, it's not serious, like, I want to hear. And so, how did you get your first job? Did you go to Miami Ad School? I mean, did you have like some kind of an edge or something?
No. When I worked at Discovery Channel, I got into temping. You know, that year of temping I did to figure out what I didn't want to do. So that was my last temping gig. And then when I walked in, it's an internal ad agency that I worked at with Discovery.
Okay.
They did all the ads for Animal Planet, TLC, all the networks.
You just temped for Discovery?
Yeah, and I temped, and then they hired me. So I
Okay.
stayed there. I stayed on and learned the business. And then literally, I knew I wanted to move to California. I'd grown up on the East Coast. I didn't know how to love it. I just picked up and I left. I went to Spain for 2 months. Came back and just left. Like literally drove cross country with my stuff. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have a job. But I had friends there, so I stayed on at everyone's couch. And it was the height of the .com. It was 2000, August. It was crazy. And yeah, I had to interview more times to find an apartment and a job.
How many months did it take you for a job?
I moved it September 11th, pre September 11th. So yeah, I got my job and the apartment the same day, September 11th, 2000. And I'd been there a month, and no one would rent you without a job, even if you had savings.
Yeah,
So I had to start working again. And they offered me a job, and it was actually 10 grand more than the salary I would want in advertising. But I knew I wanted to be in advertising, so I turned it down. And then the temp agency sent me to interview. And I think they sent me to interview as a receptionist, and I was so offended. Because I walked in and I was like,
At least you're
kidding me.
Yeah.
And so I told the interviewer, and he's like, actually, no, I think there's another position for you. I want you to come back and sell the house. So it wasn't really an edge, it's just putting myself out there. But I think here, especially, and we can talk after this, I know I offer a lot. I offer 2 contacts in LA. We can do an informational. I mean, we can talk about how to get you in. I'm sure there are jobs somewhere.
There has to be.
Yeah.
This is happening.
It's new. That's what I like.
And to be even more blunt, put the book down and move. And if I know anything about New York City, they don't hire people from out of town. Like you need to be here
Yeah.
to get hired. You can have a job. I moved here on like on a Tuesday, Wednesday I was temping.
Yeah.
Again, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'd say put the book down, move here, and you're not gonna get hired. Like, oh, you're back, so we'll fly you up.
And you can temp, you can do little jobs until you actually find something in advertising, just to pay the rent.
Another thing just to keep in mind is that there are the famous places where people work, right? And then there are the places where people actually do the same work that are not as famous, but where you will get a lot more experience. Like if you find, like a carpet company that is looking for a marketing assistant, take that job. You know, a carpet company in New York is probably a $15 million business. They probably have like a $2 million account. They probably will pay you $30,000 to be their marketing assistant, but you will do things that you will never get to do if you walk into an alley, right? So just to keep that in mind. The other thing is totally true. If somebody hasn't gone through the beast of trying to find an apartment and living here, it's very difficult that somebody will give you a job. Because for them, just risk management of you coming here and losing your when you see the rat walking through your apartment and then leaving, they're like, no, have you been here? Where are you in Bushwick? Where? With 14 people? Great.